Fredrick Sutton. Fredrick J. Sutton.
Okay, folks, Mike from Profiling Evil. I'm here with my buddy Brian Lantz, former Secret Service agent. We just left grabbing some dinner downtown D.C., and we're looking up one of his old buddies at the police memorial. Brian, who's the guy and what's so significant about him?
Well, he's a good friend of, or he's a brother to a very good friend of mine who passed away at 98 years old a couple of years ago. His name was Fredrick Sutton. He was actually a motorman up in Pennsylvania, died in the line of duty.
And where is he on the wall?
He is at 10W15, actually 40W15.
4015. We'll go look for him. And folks, we're here at the police memorial, a very special place to cops. And we're going to walk around and visit Sutton. So Brian, when you come to a place like this, having sat in the saddle, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's very sobering to think about all these folks that have really done a great service to this country and paid with the ultimate price in a lot of cases, and what they're here representing on this wall and the things that they've been able to do and quite frankly help shape this country over the years.
It's pretty amazing when you think about all the names that are on this wall, and it just goes on and on and on. Last year was a banner year in the U.S., and the problem last year was it was a banner year because there were more police officers that died in the line of duty than I think about any year since they've started keeping records. All right, Brian, we're at the 40 West placard. Where's your buddy?
Fredrick Sutton's right here, Mike. It's right here.
Awesome. And the names just go on and on. Isn't that something? Well, let's walk over. I want to visit Dennis Wustenhoff's plaque. And have I ever told you about Dennis?
No, I don't think so.
Suffolk County cop reached out to me, said, hey, I'd love to have you talk about one of my old partners who was murdered on the 15th of February, I think it was 1990. And
close to the anniversary here.
So Dennis Wustenhoff was a undercover narcotics detective in Suffolk County, and he on Valentine's night in 1990 decided to call in and take the night off so he could take his little girl to the daddy-daughter dance.
Really?
And he took his daughter to the dance, and as he took his daughter to the dance, had a lovely evening with her. The next morning he walked out, started his undercover police car in the front of the house, and the vehicle exploded and killed him.
Oh my.
And let's see if I can find Dennis's name here. So folks, again, I'm with my buddy Brian Lantz, who's former Secret Service. And we're visiting some old friends here at the police memorial. We're going to go see Dennis Wustenhoff real quickly. And Dennis is at 9 East 14. Valentine's dance. Came out the next morning, started his undercover police car up, and it exploded. His children were pulled from school and taken to the hospital, but they were never allowed to see Dennis because he was so bad and they were trying to save his life, but he died in the hospital. And yeah, 9/14.
Was it 9/14?
Yeah, oh, here we go, yeah. There we go, right there. Dennis Wustenhoff.
Right here.
And the sad thing is that Dennis was having an affair at the time with another police officer's wife who happened to be a bomb tech. And this case has gone on for years and years, and at the request of the family, we talked to Dr. Phil, who put us on a show in hopes that we could encourage that district attorney to file charges. They went after this officer. There were all kinds of police investigations against the officer. The newspaper publicized the officer's name, and this thing has now gone on 32 years, basically.
Really?
And he still hasn't been brought to justice. But if you go to the kid's webpage, Dennis Wustenhoff, you'll see they very clearly call out who they think killed their dad. And the girls are just absolutely beautiful women. I just love them. In fact, I think what we'll do is just call them real quickly and just say hello to them. But another really cool part about all this is that Dennis's son became a Suffolk County police officer when he turned 21.
Oh, wow.
And a few years ago, the police department pulled Dennis's badge out of evidence, and he now wears his dad's badge.
Oh, that's incredible.
So it's pretty cool.
Incredible. It's very cool.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
So anyway, folks, you probably won't get the conversation with Jen, but we're going to give her a call anyway. Just tell her so that she knows that we're visiting her dad and that all's well here in D.C. So, hi, Jen, it's Mike. Hey, make sure that your mom and your brother and sister know that I stopped by to visit your dad tonight. I just tried you on FaceTime, but you clearly are doing something a whole lot more important than talking to your Uncle Mike. Hope you're well. I hope you guys all know how much I love you. Here's a quick view of your dad, just so you know he's still here and doing okay. I got a former Secret Service guy with me, Brian, who's a longtime friend. We just had dinner and wanted to walk through the memorial and say hi to some old friends. So good night. Love you all. Anyway, and then before we wrap up, though, Brian, I wanted to talk about the case of Tristyn Bailey, who was stabbed 114 times down in Jacksonville area and murdered by a schoolmate, Aiden Fucci. Today started jury selection in his trial, and I think it just blew everybody's mind because the kid walked in and pled guilty to the offense.
Aiden Fucci, the teen charged in the stabbing death of schoolmate Tristyn Bailey, pleaded guilty to first-degree murder. Fucci's plea came right before jury selection was set to begin.
He stood before the judge asking to make a brief statement after he had changed his plea from not guilty. Fucci said he was sorry for the Bailey family and my family. 13-year-old Tristyn Bailey was found stabbed to death on Mother's Day in 2021. Our teams are in St. Johns County covering all the developments in this case. We'll first go to reporter Marilyn Parker, who's live at the St. Johns County Courthouse. Marilyn, the defense tried to negotiate with the state on this plea.
Yes, but it was unsuccessful. The state did not accept any or did not make any offers, standing firm on the Bailey family's wishes. And Aiden Fucci admitting to this horrendous crime, prosecutors will see to it that he gets the maximum sentence. Aiden Fucci knew what he was doing.
I do, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. Yes, I do.
Judge Lee Smith made sure of it. Monday, the 16-year-old gave up all his rights.
Mr. Fucci, is it your desire to enter a plea of guilty to one count of first-degree murder?
Yes, sir.
I accept your plea.
He admitted to killing 13-year-old Tristyn Bailey.
I'm sorry for the Bailey family and my family.
Bailey's family released a statement reading in part, "Just as Tristyn fought for her life, we equally fought for her and would not agree to any plea deal." Fucci has a sentencing hearing in about 3 weeks. In April, Fucci's mother is expected in court. She's charged with tampering with evidence in Bailey's murder. It's unclear if Fucci's plea will impact her case. We know Fucci's parents were involved in Monday's decision.
Did you also get a chance to discuss it with your parents?
Yes, sir.
They went over all the evidence from the state. There were no negotiations, and the state rejected all offers from the defense. Fucci is facing life in prison with a review after 25 years. Bailey's family ended their statement saying, "This is obviously not over yet. There is still a sentencing phase that our family must endure. Make no mistake, the most important things to our family at this time are justice and Tristyn's legacy." That sentencing hearing is set for February 23rd. You can read statements from the state attorney's office and the full statement from the Bailey family right now on news4jax.com. Reporting live tonight, Marilyn Parker, Channel 4, the local station.
Thank you, Marilyn. St. Johns County Sheriff Rob Hardwick released his own statement regarding Fucci's guilty plea.
And Hardwick said Aiden Fucci's decision to enter a guilty plea today is nothing more than a testament to the hard work and dedication of the exceptional men and women of the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office. This was an all-out agency effort. The cooperation between our agency and the Bailey family has been unparalleled. Their strength and grace throughout this case has been incredible. This agency will forever be connected to the Bailey family, and this community will be forever Bailey strong.
Will, under Florida law, serve at least 25 years to life. In 25 years, he's eligible for parole and a review. Hopefully the judge will look at that and say, even though he was 13 or 14 years old at the time, he still stabbed this kid 114 times.
And someone he knew from school?
A girl that he liked. He picked her up. They met outside of her home at a little recreation center just about a half a block from her home. Went for a walk, captured on CCTV from doorbell cameras along the way. And then to show you how crazy this case was, he came home in the early morning hours, went in carrying his shoes, so he took his shoes off. Whether he was changing his footprint or just because he liked walking barefoot, I don't know. Broke the knife off in Tristyn, threw the knife into the water. Police recovered the water when the divers went in the following day. But that night, on the family's CCTV inside their home, because they had cameras inside their home,
You gotta be kidding me.
Mom went and washed his pants and tried to get rid of all the blood evidence. And now she's facing criminal charges as well.
Or assisting. So he was to go on trial today and just came in and pled guilty right the first day of the trial, right?
First day of the trial, and probably blew Court TV's plans for the week, but saved that family having to hear the horrendous events of what happened.
Relive it all. Well, I'm happy to see something like that happen, though, because so much time and energy goes into these things that you spend thousands of dollars on, and you wonder why sometimes. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
So folks, Brian, former Secret Service, has lived in the Washington, D.C. area, I think all your life, haven't you?
I've been here since '84. Came down here in '84 to go into the Secret Service.
84. Kid from the woods out in Virginia, West Virginia.
That's right.
And now is working with government officials. In fact, we're here for meetings this week with government officials, and I never pass up a chance to spend time with my buddy.
Good seeing you, Mike.
Folks, we're going to jump over to some news media coverage on Aiden Fucci, where they're going to have a lawyer on who's going to talk about some of the legal ramifications about what we can expect. And again, keep in mind, there's no death penalty for this kid because of his age. It's an old Supreme Court ruling that changed all that. But under Florida law, he's going to stand at least for 25 years in prison before he then has an opportunity to try to convince a judge that he's a changed kid.
Right?
Yeah. And hopefully, my hope is that he stays in prison the rest of his life.
And what he did, he should.
Yeah. So
Now let's do that. What does happen next? Let's talk now to our legal analyst, Shannon Schott. She is an expert on juvenile law, a defense attorney. We appreciate your joining us. You just got off the phone with a private attorney for Tristyn Bailey's family. What did he tell you?
They will be issuing a statement around 4 o'clock this afternoon, and they're ready to make a statement about the shocking development in this case.
A lot of people using the word surprise, shock, dramatic. Nobody expected it. You were surprised greatly as well by this change of events today. And so what happened? Why the last minute?
I just got chills. It is very shocking and surprising, and it's interesting that they chose to do it on the morning of jury selection, but that's really the last opportunity that a defendant has to change his plea and give the family some solace and give the state an opportunity to not have to go through the process of proving the case beyond a reasonable doubt. And perhaps he and his team thought from a strategic standpoint he would win some favor with the court when it comes time for sentencing.
So you'd win favor by the court, presumably because you leave the family without having to hear so much of a trial day after day after day. But doesn't the judge see through that?
Certainly there may be a question as to whether or not that remorse is sincere, and that will be a question for the judge alone to decide. But certainly there is an argument to be made that he spared the family from the medical examiner's testimony, which was going to be extremely difficult for everyone involved.
You were telling me when I talked to you earlier today that remorse is an enormous factor. Mm-hmm. The judge has to believe that he is sincerely sorry. Now, we heard him give a statement. You all just heard that now. It was very, very short today. Mm-hmm. Do you think that helped him win some points with the judge, or would you have advised him differently?
So under Florida law, remorse cannot be considered in sentencing unless the defendant raises it as an issue. I think that when you set the tone for your sentencing hearing by saying, I'm sorry, that just gives a little bit of a preview as to what's coming. And there will be an emphasis on his remorse made by the defense. And what we've now heard is going to be a 2-day sentencing hearing.
Now, how would you evaluate that sentence? It was very, very short, as I say. Do you think that made the first impression that was what you would want it to make for the judge?
He's a teenage boy with limited developmental skills and limited communication skills. There will be work that has to be done to really communicate his remorse to the judge. I don't think that's the be-all end-all when it comes to what the court's going to consider for remorse, but based on that sentence, there's certainly work that needs to be done.
How would you coach him to become more sincere sounding, perhaps, if you were his defense attorney?
Well, what the job of the defense attorney is basically to present that mitigation or good information. And there will be an element of drafting a more detailed statement, potentially if they're going to raise the issue of remorse and bring that in as mitigation or good information. And there just needs to be work done on the way that it's communicated, what is said, other than just, I'm sorry. I don't know that that's sufficient for the court to consider. There needs to be a lot more that goes into that statement. And there just needs to be thought. So when we work with our juvenile offenders, we always encourage them to really take time to write their letters of apology and be very sincere when they write it.
So let's talk more about why this was a last-minute thing. We've been seeing through public documents in our newscast the last couple of days about statements that he supposedly made in jail to other inmates. Basically, I don't know if bragging is the correct word, but saying that he was the one with a knife to somebody's face and trying to keep them from either assaulting him or I don't know, overcoming him in some way in prison. Do you think that had an effect in this last-minute change?
Certainly, there are a number of factors that could have affected whether or not he was going to plead guilty or proceed to trial. But it's definitely important to note that some of the inmates that he was incarcerated with are listed on the witness list. It is possible that the state was going to bring those witnesses to testify about statements that were made by Mr. Fucci that only the killer would have known. So in light of that, that evidence could have been the last straw for his attorneys to say, look, you are going to be convicted, and if you plea now and save the family the trial, maybe we can do something with that information. But it sounds like in the last few days there's been a lot of developments with the witness list and who will be testifying and the testimony that's coming out.
So let's clear up the possible sentences and what kind of punishment he could get. We've been seeing lots of talk on social media. You and I chatted about this. People saying, well, he's not going to get life in prison. I mean, nobody knows that. It's up to a judge. It's not a jury at this point for the sentencing hearing. But at 40 years, there would be some kind of possible change, but there's a review before that if he gets life in prison at 25 years. What happens in a review? What does that mean? Could he walk free?
Yes, so Florida law has a lot of rules. In the last 10 years, we have codified or made laws that talk about juvenile sentencing. And this is where my expertise really comes in, because when you have a juvenile offender charged as an adult, there's two things happening. You have a juvenile case and juvenile rules that apply to him right now. So they actually ordered a juvenile predisposition report. And then you have the possibility of an adult sanction as well. So he could either be sentenced as a juvenile and he would be incarcerated until he's 21 and the court loses jurisdiction, or he would be sentenced as an adult to 40 years to life. And if he's sentenced to 40 years or more or life, he would be reviewed at 25 years. And if the court determines based on a bunch of factors that he should be released back into society, he would be released and then put on a minimum 5-year probation.
So at minimum, he will be in prison 25 years. After that, we don't know. All right.
Correct.
Gina,